The sky above Outpost Delta turned deep red, a warning of what was coming. Captain Elias Ford stood at the watchtower, his eyes locked on the glowing storm clouds moving fast over the horizon. He had been sent here to build peace, not fight. But the mission had gone quiet weeks ago. Now only static came from command. The land below was empty and cracked, once home to the fire-born people known as the Varelians. Now only ash and smoke remained. No one knew why they had vanished. No one dared to ask. Elias had read the old files. Stories of Varelian royals with skin made of flame, breath hot enough to melt steel, and eyes that burned through lies. Most humans believed the Varelians were myths. Elias wasn't so sure anymore. His second-in-command, Sergeant Layla Voss, climbed up beside him. "Sir, we spotted movement outside the perimeter. Too fast for our drones to track. Might be them." Elias didn't reply. He was already moving. They reached the gates as the storm hit. The air burned like smoke mixed with electricity. From the haze, something stepped forward. No, someone. She walked through the fire like it was wind. Her skin shimmered with flame. Not burning, not hurting. Alive. Glowing orange and gold, her gown danced like it was woven from heat itself. The soldiers pointed weapons, but no one fired. They couldn't. She was too mesmerizing. "Stand down," Elias ordered. His voice cut through the fear. The woman stopped just beyond the gates. Her voice was soft, but every syllable cracked like firewood. "You built your walls on my ancestors' bones," she said. "You lit fires where sacred flame already lived. You stole peace and dared call it progress." Elias stepped forward. "We came to make contact, not to conquer. I swear it." "You lie," she whispered. "But your lie is small. Others before you lied greater lies." He took another step. The heat didn't push him back. It embraced him. The soldiers behind him shouted warnings, but the princess didn't move. She just watched. "Who are you?" he asked. "I am Kailira," she said, "daughter of the last Flame King, keeper of the infernal throne. And you are the first human to look me in the eye without fear." Elias didn't break her gaze. "I came to learn. I never wanted war." Kailira stepped closer. The air between them shimmered. Her flames flickered along her skin, but Elias didn't flinch. She reached out, and for a second, her hand hovered near his chest. Then she touched him. It should have burned. It didn't. Her fingers were hot, yes, but not deadly. Like the sun on skin after winter. Warm, strange, alive. The soldiers gasped. Elias stood still. "You are not like the others," Kailira said. "But that is not always a good thing." Elias nodded slowly. "Then show me what is." She studied him. Behind her, flames rose into the sky like banners of war, but she didn't command an army. She was alone. A princess made of fire, stepping into a world of steel and cold. Kailira turned and walked away, vanishing into the storm. But she left behind one word. Follow. And he did. Not because he had to, because he wanted to. Elias followed Kailira into the storm without looking back. Every step away from the human outpost felt like a step into another world. The air grew warmer, and the ground beneath. His boots pulsed faintly like something ancient and living breathed beneath the soil. Kailira moved ahead without hesitation. The flames that clung to her body didn't flicker in the wind. They obeyed her like loyal pets. She didn't speak, but she knew he was behind her. Elias could feel her presence guiding him even when he couldn't see her clearly. They reached the mouth of a canyon glowing faintly with firelight. Strange symbols danced along the rocky walls, runes that shimmered, shifted, and hummed softly, reacting to Kailira's steps. She paused at the entrance, finally looking back at Elias. "You walk where none of your kind have walked and lived," she said. "I'm still here," Elias answered. "For now." The path twisted downward, deeper into the earth. Fire-lit crystals lit the way, growing from the rock like roots of flame. The heat should have been unbearable, but Elias felt only a strange calm, like the warmth was part of something trying to speak to him. They entered a great chamber. At its center stood a massive throne of black stone and red gold, surrounded by a circle of fire. Kalira stepped into the ring, and the flames parted for her. "This is the Heartforge," she said, "where my ancestors shaped war and peace in equal measure, where my blood was first called royalty." Elias looked around. Murals lined the walls, showing figures like Kalira leading armies of light against darkness, binding great beasts, shaping flame with their hands. "Why bring me here?" he asked. Kalira didn't sit. She stood tall in front of the throne, her eyes glowing. "Because I must choose," she said, "whether to burn your people from this world, or let the fire sleep once more." Elias stepped closer, but not into the ring of flame. "Then I must speak what your enemies never did." She tilted her head. "Truth?" He nodded. "Fear brought us here, not conquest. The galaxy is full of monsters, Kalira. We thought your world was empty. We were wrong. I was wrong. But I want to know your people. I want to help." Kalira's flames dimmed slightly. She walked to the edge of the fire circle and reached out. Her hand hovered above the flames. "Then come." Elias hesitated. The fire licked upward like a warning. One step, and he'd be surrounded by it. One wrong move, and it could consume him. But Kalira watched, silent. He stepped forward. The flames touched his boots, then his knees, his chest. But they didn't burn. They felt like breath, like light, like something ancient that remembered his promise. Inside the ring, Kalira looked at him not as a human, but as someone who dared stand in fire to hear her words. "Tell me your name," she said. "Elias." She nodded. "Then remember mine, Kalira. Say it, and fire will know you." Their eyes locked. The heat between them was not pain, but connection. Her fingers reached up and brushed his cheek. He didn't move. The fire on her skin tickled his jaw, but didn't hurt. "My people will not trust you," she said, "and your kind will see you as a traitor." "I don't care," Elias said. "I only care about what's right." Kalira closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, something had changed. Not in her body, but in her soul. A door had opened. She whispered something in her own tongue. The flames around the throne dimmed. "You may stay tonight," she said, "but tomorrow the real test begins." And with that, the fire went silent. But the war it held back began to stir. Elias didn't sleep that night. Not because he wasn't allowed to, but because the Heartforge wouldn't let him. The chamber breathed with heat and memories. Flames danced along the walls in patterns he couldn't understand. It was like the entire place was alive, watching him, judging him. Kalira had disappeared deeper into the tunnels without a word. He was left alone with nothing but the firelight and his thoughts. By morning, she returned. Her face was unreadable, her golden armor replaced by a robe woven from living embers. She carried a small bowl filled with glowing ash. "Eat," she said. Elias frowned. "That's ash." "It is memory," she answered, "of those who came before. If you are to walk with us, you must carry their flame." He looked at her hand, then at the bowl. The ash shimmered, not like death, but like light waiting to be reborn. He took a breath and dipped 2 fingers into it. The taste was strange. Metal, earth, heat, but it filled his chest with something unfamiliar. "Not pain, power." Kalira nodded once. "Then follow." They stepped through a narrow archway. Beyond it was a long corridor carved into the heart of the mountain. The walls were lined with statues, each one a Varelian warrior or queen. Each one with flames rising from their heads like crowns. Kalira touched one statue gently. "This was my mother. She was the last to trust an outsider." He broke that trust. Elias said nothing. He could feel her voice tighten. Her people had been betrayed before. He was standing on the edge of that history. She turned. "The others will come soon. Some will want to test you. Others will want you dead. I understand." "No," Kalira said softly. "You don't, but you will." They entered a massive chamber filled with steam and glowing pools. Varelian guards stood at every exit. Their bodies were taller than Kalira's, wrapped in burning armor. Their eyes glowed like lava. One of them stepped forward. His voice cracked like thunder. "This is the human?" Kalira nodded. He is smaller than I imagined. Elias kept his gaze steady. The warrior looked at Kalira. He should not be here. He does not bleed flame. Kalira's tone was sharp. He walked through fire. He ate the ash. He stayed when others fled. That is more than any outsider before him. Another guard stepped forward. She was older, with gray fire in her hair. Let him speak. Let us judge him by his voice. Elias took a step forward. I don't want to rule. I don't want to conquer. I want peace. But not the kind where one side bows and the other stands. The kind where we stand together. A long silence followed. Then the older guard nodded slowly. Words mean little here. He must face the trial of flame. Kalira's eyes widened slightly. He is not ready. He must be, the guard said. The fire accepts only the worthy. What's the trial? Elias asked. Kalira looked at him. It's a test older than our thrones. You will walk into the flame well alone. It will know if your fire is real or false, and if it's false, then it burns you to ash, the guard said. Elias exhaled slowly. When? Now. Kalira stepped closer to him. Her voice dropped low. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do, Elias said. Because if I don't, we go back to fear. And I've seen where that leads. Kalira stared at him for a long moment. Then she stepped aside. The guards parted. At the end of the hall, the flame well opened, roaring, alive, ancient. It called for him, and Elias walked toward it. Elias stood before the flame well. It pulsed like a heart of living fire, glowing deep within the stone floor. The heat rippled through the chamber, licking the air with invisible fingers. The Varelian guards formed a silent circle around the pit. No one spoke. Even Kalira watched without a word. He looked down into the flames. They weren't wild. They spun slowly like they were thinking, waiting. A voice echoed from behind him. It was the elder guard who had named the trial. Step forward. Let the flame know your truth. Elias nodded. His hands trembled, but not from fear. From weight. The weight of being the first human to stand here. The weight of being watched by a people who had every reason to hate his kind. He stepped into the pit. The fire did not burn his skin. Instead, it crawled up his boots like vines made of heat. It wrapped around his legs, then his waist, then his arms. Soon it surrounded him completely. The outside world vanished. All he could see was fire. Then it began. Flashes of memory, not his own, filled his mind. A Varelian city glowing in the night, destroyed by human bombs. Screams. Fire twisted into rage. A child made of flame held by her mother as metal rained from the sky. Then the same child alone, crying fire tears on a broken throne. Kalira. The flame well was showing him her past, and then it turned. It showed his own. Earth battlefields. Dust-covered outposts. Men and women in uniform. Elias holding a rifle, his eyes empty. He had been a soldier long before he became a peacekeeper. He had killed. He had survived. But he had never stopped looking for something more. Why do you walk our fire? A voice whispered from within the flame. To stop the war, Elias answered. Lies are fuel. The voice said. Speak truth or burn. Elias closed his eyes. Because I'm tired of seeing fire fall from the sky. Because I've seen children who lost everything. Because your people aren't so different from mine. And because I saw her eyes and they didn't look away. The fire grew hotter. Would you betray your kind for her? The voice asked. Elias breathed in the fire. I'd betray the fear inside them. Not the people. I'd show them there's another way. The flames paused. Then they moved. They sank into his chest, into his bones. His heart felt like it caught fire, but instead of pain there was clarity. He saw the mountain, the city below, Kalira standing alone, and he saw himself beside her, not as a conqueror, not as a guest, as something else. The fire let go and he was back. The chamber appeared again. The guard stood exactly as before. Kalira stepped forward, but she didn't smile. Her face was tight with worry. Elias fell to his knees. Smoke curled off his body, but he was alive. The elder guard walked forward, staring at the scorch marks on his skin. He passed, she said. The flame spared him. Kalira knelt beside him. You saw it, didn't you? Yes, Elias whispered. I saw you. The guards bowed their heads slightly. Not in loyalty. In respect, Kalira helped him to his feet. Her hand lingered on his arm longer than needed. You carry the fire now, she said. But what you do with it, that will decide everything. Elias looked at her. Then let's do something they never expected. What? Peace. Kalira's lips curved just slightly. Outside, the flame banners began to rise above the mountain. But not all fires were meant to destroy. Some were meant to guide. The mountain's fires burned bright for the first time in years. Flame banners shot into the sky like beacons. To the Varelians, this was a sign that someone had survived the trial of flame. A new path was opening. But down at the edge of the human outpost, it meant something else. Sergeant Layla Voss stared at the rising smoke through her binoculars. "That's no natural fire," she said. "That's a signal," the rest of the soldiers murmured. No one knew what had become of Captain Elias. He hadn't sent a message in 2 days. Now he was somewhere inside that burning mountain, and the flame was calling. Back in the Heart Forge, Elias stood beside Kalira. His clothes were stained with ash, but his steps were stronger. The fire had changed something in him, not just on the outside, but within. He felt like part of the mountain now, like he belonged here in a way he couldn't explain. Kalira led him to a large open balcony carved into the stone. From there, he could see the distant outline of the human outpost. He wondered if they were watching him now, if they saw the flames and thought he had died. "They will come," Kalira said. "With weapons, with questions. I know. Will you stand with them?" "I'll stand between," he said. "If they shoot, I'll stop the bullets. If they listen, I'll speak." Kalira looked at him like she was trying to read something in his face. "You are not like them." "I used to be," Elias said. "I just got tired of being afraid of everything that was different." A deep bell echoed through the stone halls. Kalira turned. "The council has called for you." They entered a new chamber filled with Varelian elders, each seated on floating stones that circled a central flame. Their bodies were old, their skin dimmer than Kalira's, but their eyes burned with wisdom. "You are the flame bearer now," one said. "You walked into the fire and survived. But that does not make you one of us." "I don't want to be one of you," Elias said calmly. "I just want to walk beside you." Another elder leaned forward. "Then prove it. Bring your people to us, not with guns, with open hands." "They won't trust this," Elias said. "They'll think it's a trap." "Then make them trust you." Kalira stepped forward. "He cannot do this alone." Elias glanced at her. "You'd come with me?" She nodded. "They need to see us together." Silence filled the chamber. Finally, the oldest elder spoke. "Very well. Let the flame walk with the frost. If it survives, the fire may yet be shared." Later that day, Elias and Kalira stood at the edge of the mountain trail. Her armor shimmered with golden light. His uniform bore the marks of fire, but he wore it with pride. Together they began the walk down the mountain toward the outpost. At the outpost gates, soldiers raised their weapons. Layla stepped forward, shocked. "Captain?" Elias raised a hand. "Stand down." Layla's eyes moved to Kalira. Her skin glowed like living flame. Heat rolled off her, but her face was calm. "Is that her?" Layla asked. "The one who started all this?" "She didn't start it," Elias said. "We did." By not listening, Kalira looked at the humans. They were smaller, colder, but curious. They didn't fire. "Not yet. This is Kalira, daughter of flame. She wants to speak, and I need you to listen." No one moved. Then Layla slowly lowered her rifle. "Talk fast," she said. "Command's already on its way." Elias stepped beside Kalira, and for the first time, fire and steel stood side by side, not in war, but in something close to hope. The command ship landed within the hour. Its engines shook the ground, sending dust flying into the air. Human soldiers poured out in formation, weapons drawn, eyes scanning everything. They had come expecting a rescue, or a war. General Pierce stepped forward, tall and sharp-eyed. His face was cold as steel. He looked at Elias first, then at Kalira. His expression didn't change, but the tightening of his jaw gave him away. "Captain Ford," he said, "you've been missing for 3 days. We thought you were dead." Elias kept his stance calm. "I was alive, learning." "Learning what?" Pierce's eyes moved to Kalira. "How to surrender." Kalira didn't speak. Her face remained calm, but the tips of her fingers glowed a little brighter. The soldiers behind her tensed slightly, sensing her energy. "She's not our enemy," Elias said. "We invaded sacred ground. We didn't know. But we know now. She's offering us peace." Pierce folded his arms. "And you believe her?" "I do. Why?" Elias didn't hesitate. "Because she could have burned me to ash. But she didn't." Pierce stepped forward until he stood almost chest to chest with Elias. You were sent here to secure a forward position for future trade, not fall in love with a glowing alien. It's not about love, Elias said, though even he wasn't sure if that was true. It's about respect. About survival. We can't win a war against them, General. They're fire itself. Pierce turned to Kalira, then let her speak. Kalira stepped forward. Her voice was low but strong. We do not seek conquest, but we remember betrayal. If you walk with steel in your hands, we meet you with flame. If you walk open-handed, we answer with light. Pierce studied her, trying to read past her glowing skin and inhuman poise. Your kind killed our scouts. Kalira didn't flinch. And your kind broke our temples. Silence followed. Elias looked between them, his heart pounding. This was the moment. One wrong word and everything would fall apart. Pierce finally looked away. Let's say I listen. What exactly do you want? Kalira tilted her head. A meeting. Between your leaders and my elders. On equal ground, Pierce frowned. Why now? Because the fire has chosen, Kalira said, nodding to Elias. And I will not ignore it. That made Pierce pause. What does that mean? It means he carries the mark now. The mountain accepted him. Pierce looked at Elias again. You're telling me you've been blessed? I'm telling you we have a chance, Elias replied. One we don't get twice. Pierce stepped back and spoke into his comm. Send word to High Command. Tell them. There's been a development. A few hours later, a temporary meeting ground was set between the outpost and the base of the mountain. No weapons were allowed, no drones, just a circle of stone guarded from a distance. Elias stood between the groups as Kalira and General Pierce sat across from one another. Tension still hung in the air, but it was thinner now. The fire hadn't flared. The guns hadn't fired. Kalira spoke of the old days, of peace before the outsiders came, of the Flame King's death and the silence that followed. She spoke of pain, but also of possibility. Pierce, to his credit, listened. He didn't agree to everything, but he listened. Later, as the sun dipped behind the mountain, Kalira stood beside Elias. You did well, she said. It's not over yet. No, she agreed. But something changed today. Elias looked at her. What happens next? Kalira turned to him. Now, we test if humans can keep a promise. And in the distance, the wind carried the scent of ash and something new, rain. The rain fell gently at first, steaming where it touched Kalira's skin. Elias watched her face as she tilted her head upward, letting the water slide over her like a stranger's hand. She hadn't seen rain in years. The mountain rarely wept, but now even the sky seemed unsure of what came next. Back at the outpost, not everyone was celebrating. Lieutenant Rourke paced the command tent, fists clenched. We let a fire being walk into our perimeter, sit beside our general, and now we're talking about sharing land with her people? Sergeant Layla frowned. She didn't attack. You saw it. She didn't have to. That's the trick. They burn us slowly. They get inside our minds. You're not thinking straight. I'm thinking clearer than anyone, Rourke snapped. That alien touched our captain. He's not the same anymore. We don't know what they did to him. Layla stood. He passed their trial. He chose peace. And I choose survival, Rourke said. That night, Elias walked with Kalira along the outer edge of the outpost. The flames on her robe flickered softly, controlled now, gentle. Her presence no longer frightened the guards, but they still watched with tight jaws. Some of your people hate me, she said without looking at him. Some of mine fear anything they can't explain, Elias replied. But fear fades. No, she whispered. Fear waits, then strikes when you forget it. Before Elias could respond, a small explosion lit the eastern edge of the perimeter. Flames shot upward. Human-made, not Virelian. Come on, Elias said, already running. They reached the blast site to find smoke and debris scattered. One of the Virelian guards lay on the ground, flames flickering weakly from her wounds. A small group of human soldiers stood nearby, shocked. One of them held a detonator. His hands shook. Kalira knelt by her kin, placing a glowing hand over the wound. Her flame flared, pushing life back into the soldier's body. But her eyes never left the humans. Pierce arrived moments later, shouting for medics. He took one look at the detonator and turned to Elias. Do you know who did this? I have a guess, Elias said through clenched teeth. They found Rourke inside the weapons bay, packing explosives into a sealed case. Elias walked straight up to him. What were you planning? Rourke didn't look guilty. Securing our future. Before you burn it down for her, you almost killed a diplomat. She's not a diplomat. She's a weapon. And so are you now. Pierce entered behind them. Lieutenant Rourke. You're under arrest. Rourke glared at him. You're siding with them? I'm siding with reason, Pierce said. As guards took Rourke away, Elias turned to Pierce. If that blast had killed her, this whole fragile truce would have turned to ash. I know, the general said. We're lucky she still wants to talk. Later, Elias returned to the Varelian camp, unsure if he'd be welcomed. But Kalira stood waiting by the fire ring, her injured soldier now standing beside her. She lives, Kalira said. Because I chose mercy, Elias bowed his head. And I chose to believe not everyone in my command believes in peace. Kalira stepped forward. Her hand, warm and glowing, reached up to touch his face. Then we both carry heavy truths. Elias looked into her eyes. The fire inside them danced slower now. Does this end us? No, she said. But it changes what we must do next. He nodded. Then I'll face it with you. Kalira's voice softened. Even if it means losing everything? I've already lost too much to turn back now. In the firelight, she leaned closer. Her lips hovered near his, but she didn't kiss him. Not yet. Because they both knew the war wasn't done. It had only changed shape. The sky cracked open with a sound like thunder. But there were no clouds. A golden rift tore across the air above the mountain and something massive descended from it. Not a ship, not a weapon, something older. Elias stood with Kalira near the flame ring when he saw it. A floating palace of molten stone and silver fire hovered just above the peak, held in the air by columns of rotating flame. The Varelian soldiers dropped to one knee. Even the wind seemed to pause. She has come, Kalira whispered. My grandmother, the Fire Queen. Elias watched in awe as a single platform drifted down from the floating palace. On it stood a figure surrounded by rings of fire, her body glowing brighter than the sun. Her crown floated above her head, held up by flame alone. Her steps did not touch the ground. Kalira stepped forward, her voice steady. Queen Mother. The Fire Queen's voice echoed like it came from the mountain itself. You summoned the Heart Forge. You awakened the trial. You let a human walk the sacred fire. Kalira nodded. He passed. The Queen's gaze turned to Elias. Her eyes were pure flame. And what did you see in him? Not weakness, Kalira answered. Not lies. I saw someone willing to walk into fire without knowing if he would live. That is Varelian courage. The Fire Queen stepped off the platform. The stone beneath her feet did not melt, but glowed red where she walked. She stopped only inches from Elias. You dare stand before me, human? Elias didn't step back. I do. You touched my granddaughter. Yes. You carry her scent, her heat, her trust. I do. The Fire Queen's flames rose, twisting around them both. You are not of the flame. You are not of the blood. Why should I let you live? Elias looked her in the eyes. Because I don't want to take anything from you. I want to give something instead. Give what? Peace. The flames stopped. The Fire Queen turned to Kalira. You would let this outsider speak for us?
No, Kalira said.
I would speak beside him. There was a pause. A deep, heavy silence. Then the Fire Queen looked to the horizon where human ships hovered far away. Their kind bombed our temples, shattered our thrones. What makes this one different? Kalira spoke softly. He kissed the flame and did not flinch. The Fire Queen's head turned slightly. He what? Kalira stepped closer to Elias, her voice proud now. He kissed me. Not with fear. Not to own me, but to understand. Whispers broke out among the Varelian warriors. Some shocked. Some angry, some intrigued. Elias stood tall. I didn't come here to be your enemy. I came because I was sent to scout. And I stayed because I found something more. The Fire Queen stared at him. For a long moment she said nothing. Then she raised her hand and a small orb of flame formed above her palm. Take it, she said. Elias reached forward and let the flame drop into his hand. It burned but did not scar. The heat pulsed like a heartbeat. You carry part of us now, she said. But if you fail, if this ends in betrayal, I will come. And I will not burn one. I will burn worlds, Elias nodded. I understand. The Fire Queen turned to Kalira. You've chosen your path. You will walk it without protection. From this moment on, your flame is your own. Kalira bowed. I accept. That night, the firelight between Elias and Kalira was quieter, brighter. She sat beside him, her head leaning on his shoulder. "You faced her," she whispered. "Most warriors can't even speak in her presence." "I almost passed out," Elias admitted. Kalara smiled. But high above, the floating palace waited. Watching and far away, new enemies saw the fire rise and began to move. The peace didn't last long. At sunrise, Kalara stood on the ridge overlooking both the mountain and the human outpost. The wind carried the scent of ash and iron. She could feel it, a shift in the flame. Something was wrong. Elias climbed the path to join her. "You feel it too?" Kalara nodded. "The fire is restless." Then the sky cracked open, not with light but with sound. A deep, cold hum echoed across the valley, unnatural and sharp. Elias turned quickly, his eyes narrowing. "That's not ours." A massive black ship broke through the clouds. It wasn't Varelian, and it wasn't from the human fleet either. "It's the Sons of Iron," Elias said. "A rogue human faction. Ex-military, ex-command, mercenaries. They don't believe in peace." Kalira's flames flickered with alarm. "Then why are they here?" "To end what we started," Elias whispered. Within minutes, the black ship opened fire, blasts of blue energy raining down on both the outpost and the mountain's edge. Explosions ripped through the stone. Screams echoed from both human and Varelian ranks. "They're not choosing sides," Elias said. "They're trying to wipe out both." Kalira's face turned hard. "Then we make them regret it." Elias and Kalira ran back down to the outpost where chaos had broken out. General Pierce barked orders, trying to organize a defense, while Varelian warriors ignited their flame blades in response. "Everyone listen," Elias shouted. "This isn't them or us. This is all of us. If we don't fight together, we burn together." Layla threw Elias a rifle. "I thought you were done with these." "I am," he said, catching it. "Until someone points one at her." Kalara raised her hand and a massive wave of fire spiraled upward, meeting the enemy's energy blasts mid-air. The skies turned gold and blue, colliding in thunder and heat. Pierce looked at her, then at Elias. "You trust her?" "With my life." "Then I trust her too." The battle raged for hours. The Sons of Iron dropped soldiers onto the field, cyber-enhanced, armor-clad, and ruthless. But they weren't prepared for Kalira. She moved like fire itself, cutting through steel with glowing blades, flames wrapping around her like wings. Beside her, Elias fought with a soldier's discipline and a leader's heart. The two fought as one, until a blast hit Kalira from behind. She fell hard, flames sputtering. Elias turned too late to see the attacker. Rourke. The traitor had escaped custody and now stood with a stolen energy rifle, aimed directly at Kalira's back. "She fooled you," Rourke shouted. "All of you. And now the galaxy pays for your mistake." Elias didn't think. He threw himself between Rourke and Kalira just as the rifle fired. The shot hit him square in the chest. The world went silent. Kalira's eyes widened as Elias collapsed beside her, smoke rising from his armor. Her scream shook the valley. Flames erupted from her body, wild and uncontrolled. The earth cracked beneath her feet as her rage became a storm. She raised her hands, and fire from the mountain itself surged through her veins. With a single word in her ancient tongue, she unleashed a blast that sent Rourke flying into the rocks. Silent, unmoving, she fell to her knees beside Elias. His breath was shallow, weak. "I'm here," she whispered, touching his face. "Don't leave now. You walked into fire for me. You kissed me without fear." Elias opened his eyes slowly. "And I'd do it again." The fire dimmed around them, but Kalira's hands never stopped glowing. "Don't speak," she whispered. "Save your strength. You still have one thing left to do." Elias tried to speak again, but she leaned down, pressing her forehead gently against his. "You still have to kiss the queen," she whispered. But neither of them noticed the Fire Queen had already arrived, and she had seen everything. The Fire Queen stood at the edge of the battlefield, her presence towering above all. Her golden crown burned brighter than the sun, and the flames around her moved with the anger of 100 storms. She had watched the Sons of Iron attack. She had watched Elias fall, and now she saw her granddaughter kneeling in the ashes, holding a dying human in her arms. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she stepped forward. Varelians and humans alike backed away as the ancient queen walked through them. Her eyes were fixed on Elias and Kalira, and the fire around her grew quieter with every step. Kalira looked up as the queen stopped in front of them. Her voice was raw. He shielded me. The Fire Queen said nothing. Kalira's voice broke. He was not born of flame, but he burned brighter than any of us. The Queen knelt slowly. Her robes moved like liquid fire. She placed one hand on Elias's chest. The heat pulsed through him and his eyes fluttered open. He saw her face above him, Kalira's, full of light and worry. And beside it, another. "The Fire Queen, why?" the Queen asked softly. Elias coughed, trying to speak. "Because I made a promise, and I never break one." The Fire Queen closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, the flames in her crown dimmed slightly. She turned to Kalira. "You once said he kissed you not to claim you, but to understand." Kalira nodded, then let him finish what he began. She stood and stepped back, raising both hands. The fire in the mountain responded. It poured from the stone not as a weapon but as light, warm and bright. The flame surrounded Elias, but this time it didn't test him. It healed him. The wound on his chest closed slowly. The color returned to his skin. His breath grew steady. Kalira watched, silent and wide-eyed, as the fire pulled back, leaving only Elias behind, alive, whole, and changed. He sat up slowly. Kalira reached out, touching his cheek. He leaned into her hand. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Elias stood facing the Fire Queen. "Thank you." The Queen gave a slow nod. "You carry our flame now. But remember, fire is not only warmth, it is also responsibility. I won't forget." Later, the battlefield became a gathering ground. The rogue ship was gone, the traitors defeated, and a new path had opened. Virelians and humans stood side by side, tending to the wounded, sharing water, building new shelters. Elias stood on a stone platform beside General Pierce. Kalira and the Fire Queen. Together they made the announcement. No more hidden war, no more broken treaties. An alliance was born. After the speech, Elias and Kalira walked quietly through the fire gardens blooming near the Heart Forge. Strange flowers opened only to flame. The sky was calm. The mountain no longer rumbled. Kalira stopped and turned to him. "They will talk about this day." "I hope they remember the right parts," Elias said. "They'll remember that a human walked into fire for an alien princess." He smiled. "And lived." Kalira stepped closer. "And they'll remember he dared to kiss her." This time he didn't hesitate. Their lips met in the warm air, soft and full of something more than promise. More than peace. It was the beginning of something that no flame could burn away. Not fear. Not doubt. Not love. When they pulled apart, Kalira's skin glowed brighter. "What happens now?" Elias looked out over the valley where humans and Virelians worked together under a rising sun. "Now," he said, "we build something no one's ever dared before." She nodded. Together, and behind them the fire didn't rise in warning, it rose in celebration.